Hi and welcome back, and as you can see, got the Chevelle back up in the air. Now in the last video I went and said I think it's roadworthy. Well, I didn't lie, but I was wrong. Went and took it out, or actually went to try to start it, and I could not get it to start after putting that new fuel line on. Sat there and messed with it, put fuel down the carburetor, wasn't sure if there was like an air bubble in there, and wouldn't allow the fuel pump to pump. Disconnected the fuel line right after the pump, try to get any air out, try to bleed it, do whatever, and nothing. Ended up disconnecting the fuel pump, or the fuel line to the fuel pump, and just running it right into a bottle and bypassing the tank and started right up. So I thought, well, maybe the fuel line was plugged at some point or did something, I don't, you don't know what happens. So I took some compressed air, shot it through the fuel line to the tank, and apparently there was another hole in the fuel line farther back from the section I replaced, and what happened when I shot the air through, it actually started acting like a siphon effect and started pumping the fuel out of the tank and leaking out of that hole. So I had gas going everywhere. I mean, it was gushing. So I had to run, get a pan to put underneath to try to catch it, hurry up, jack the back end of the car up, and clamp off the rubber line that comes from the tank to that fuel line to get it to stop. Otherwise, there's nothing. And of course, full tank of gas. I mean, I just filled it up. So I'm tired of dealing with the rusted out lines and all the fittings and worrying about leaks and doing all this stuff. So I'm going to just go through and do it right, replace everything. Now, there's a few options I can do. First off, from the fuel pump all the way back to the tank, I could run a rubber line. That'd be the quick and easy way to do it. Not going to do it that way. Another option, I can go and get pre-bent lines. First, I could go with the steel line, which would be just OEM correct, which is what I'm trying to do with this car, is keep everything correct as how it came from the factory. And that line's about $70. Another option would be same exact line, but stainless steel. Looks the same, but don't have to go and worry about it rusting or doing anything else like that. And that's the way I probably would go. And that's about $100 for that line. But the problem is, it's going to take me at least a week to get it. It's a weekend now. By the time I could order it, it'd be Monday. Probably wouldn't be in by Friday. So I'm looking out probably pretty close to 2 weeks. And like I said, I want this to be a rolling restoration. I want to try to keep it on the road as much as possible while I'm working on it. So a 2-week lead time is not going to, be the appropriate way to go. So what I'm going to do is go with this stuff. And what it is, it's NICOP. I never heard of this until recently when a fellow, car enthusiast and actually a viewer of my channel, and they are the guys over at the All Hail Internal Combustion channel. They told me about this one and did a little research on it, and I think it's what I'm going to be probably the most happy with. And besides, I could go to the auto parts store. They had it in stock, and I was also able to rent for free, just throw a deposit down, the flaring tool for it. So it says with this stuff, pretty much can bend it by hand. I'll still use the tool, but be able to tweak it in. It's supposed to be easier to flare. Like I said, it's called NICOP because it's nickel and copper. It's about 90% copper, 9% nickel, with a little bit of iron and magnesium thrown in there. Just, spice it up a little flavor. But not supposed to rust. With it being the nickel coated or something like that, the copper color is not supposed to turn green or turn black or anything like that. So I'm hoping this will work. Now the problem is, it comes in a roll, so it's not going to be perfectly straight as a pre-bent piece would be. And then the other thing is, like I said, this one was probably about 70 bucks, so I could get the steel pre-formed line for about the same, but more or less it comes down to time, and I just don't have 2 weeks to wait around for any of that stuff. I have a car show coming up. It's all in all going to be probably about a 300 plus mile round trip, so I want to try to get this together and roadworthy, because I don't want to be stranded out there. So yeah, let's get back under the car and get this taken care of. Okay, now I'm going to do a bubble flare. So I got the new fuel line into the flaring tool, and I'm using the flat side of the flaring tool. They got the recess side for your single flares and double flares, and then using the flat side with the appropriate die and the tool here, and make sure I get it squared up. Okay, went and put a bubble flare on the end of the fuel line here. This will be the end that's going to the tank. Got a little cockeyed, but it's not too bad, so it'll be good enough. And then I'll fish the line through and start getting this side bent up around the axle. Okay, I want to get you guys under here and see what I have going on. I got the gas line all plumbed in. Here it's coming from the rubber line. I have it coming right here. That is flared. Now that one was hard to do because I flared it right where it's sitting. But I got a decent flare on that, probably actually better than the one I did on the bench. But then I did put a little piece of rubber hose around it before I flared it, just to protect it because it goes into the frame here. So if there was any rubbing or anything, that is actually protected. Let me get you farther back and show you what's going on back there. Okay, then we have it coming back out of the frame here. Now, this plastic stuff was on the old line, so I just put it on the new line again. But you can see where it's not rubbing anywhere. And then I have the clips coming through, and that's staying clear. Missing one clip there, so I will have to put that one in. But that one's holding in. I don't know if you guys remember from the other video, that's the one I could not get out. Once I didn't care about the old line, it was pretty easy to get that one out. Then it goes up. There is one clip right underneath here, right up in there, which I cannot get out. That's the one where I think when the body's off, they did it. Let's keep going farther back. It runs back. No, it doesn't actually hit the frame there. It does look like it is, but it doesn't. And it runs up. Nice and over the cross member right there, and then right back. Well, the bump stop is kind of in the way. Let's see, but it's right there. So, and all the other clips are all in place, the retainers, so everything fit really well. It was super nice to be able to bend everything by hand. I didn't use the tubing bender at all. Everything was just by hand. The hardest part, I would say, is probably right up in there where it goes up and over to try to get that in without kinking. But everything else was pretty straightforward. I mean, looking at this, I mean, all in all, probably with straightening everything out and flaring and everything, I probably got 2 hours at least into it. So, but I am actually really impressed by this, and I will definitely be using this material again. Okay, well, I'm not going to say that that was easy to do, because it wasn't, but it could have been harder. And I think going with that NICOP fuel line, which is good for fuel, brake, and transmission lines, but in this case fuel, I think going with that was the way to go. It goes up and around everything, and I think it would have been just too hard doing it with this pre-bent seal line even. Now if it was a body off restoration, yeah. So another shout out to All Hail Internal Combustion for the tip on the fuel line, and thanks again, that made it a lot easier. Now I haven't tried starting it yet. I figured I'd save that for you guys, so I'm going to go around. Now there's obviously absolutely no fuel on the line, so it's going to crank for a little bit. But let's get her going and see if she'll fire. I'm actually going to put a jumper pack on it just because I've been cranking it a while prior to putting the new fuel line on, so I know the battery's a little lower. In hindsight, I should have had it sitting on the charger this whole time, but I didn't. Okay, so let's see what's going to happen. Hopefully no leaks. say, totally surprised with how fast it started. Not sure if there was still some fuel just in the fuel pump that got it going, but I honestly did not fire this at all until right now. So I was not expecting it to fire up that quick. The only thing I could think of was if they're getting fuel in the bowl and then maybe a little bit sitting down in that diaphragm, the fuel pump or something. And then by the time that got used up, the fuel pump sucking up from the tank. Wow. Good day. Good day. It's been a long, just terrible battle with that old fuel line, and every time taking it out and replacing and fixing, and like I said, this new line is just great. If you guys are wondering, it comes in a 25-foot roll. I used 3/8 line, which is what the original was. But out of that 25-foot roll, I used 12 feet exactly. So if any of you guys are using it and you want to pre-cut it so you can fire both ends while you have it out on the thing, I mean, it's great. I mean, I mentioned it out, I got 13 feet left over. So I used 12 feet exactly. Oh, yeah, I am just stoked. You don't know how happy I am. So, well, I'm going to just let this run for a little bit, making sure there's no surprises coming up. But I think, no wood around here, but knock on metal, that it's actually, hopefully, road worthy right now. Got the brakes going, got the fuel lines fixed, no other issues, everything tightening down. Off the top of my head, I don't think there's anything else that this car needs. So I'm going to clean up here, get it down off the jacks, and take it for a spin. Well, here we go, guys. Taking the Chevelle for its maiden voyage after the new fuel line. And so far, everything seems to be okay. I mean, obviously, driving in here, I can't see if there's any leaking, but it wasn't leaking, while it was sitting there running. So just got to return the flaring tool back to the auto parts store. So I'm going to run over there, figure that'd be a nice quick jaunt, and that way I can go and see if there's any issues. But everything's running great. I'm doing 75 right now and just touring along. There's nothing dragging. The steering wheel's straight down the road, so the brakes working fine. Let's see. Off acceleration. No popping to the exhaust, so the diverter valve is okay. Yeah, nothing to complain about. So we'll see once we get to the store to see if there's any gas pouring out from underneath it, which there shouldn't be, because now it's a single line. There's only two spots, by the tank and by the fuel pump. Oh, just nice peace of mind having that stuff taken care of. Okay, well, here we are. Made it to the parts store. I'm gonna walk around here and see if there's anything leaking. Now, under the passenger side here is where everything would always be leaking out, and I see nothing. Finally, a good fix on it. Okay, well, there we have it. Successfully at least made it, 5 miles. So is it road worthy yet? Not quite sure. Gonna get a few more miles on it before I can do the 300-mile round trip. So hopefully everything continues as it is and there's no issues. But very happy so far. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you next time.